has not been good here. Some of them went somewhere. You want to talk to these, Rick?
Well, I'll briefly talk about them and then I'll show them later too.
Is that Omega Centauri?
No, it's not. Omega Centauri was below the horizon. This is 47 Tucana, and I didn't even I was taking a picture of the Magellanic Cloud. And it's right close to the small Magellanic Cloud. And in fact, if you look at the very top of the screen a bit to the left of center, you'll see what looks like a rather out of focus star, and it is not. It is another globular cluster, and it's in the SMC. So it's...
Where's this one? Which one are you looking at?
The one up that you had circled first.
Up here?
That's in the SMC. 47 Tucana is around our galaxy.
Small Magellanic Cloud for the
Yeah.
newcomer ship.
But,
So that's a glob going around the Magellanic Cloud?
yep.
Okay.
And
That's 150,000 light years or so.
200,000 light years? Yeah.
Something in that range.
If you
It must be big.
I've got like one shot of the small Magellanic Cloud with 47 Tucana in it, and when you zoom in, you see probably 15 or 20 tiny little globulars scattered all over the place that are all associated with the small Magellanic Cloud. So it's pretty cool. These are not.
This is Tilkers, isn't it?
No. Antelope with targets on their hinds. These are wildebeest. So there was a lot of animal life. I mean, the baboons were more common than squirrels. These guys were reasonably common. And then there was oryx and kudu as well.
A cluster of rhinos.
The odd rhinoceros.
That's a cute one though, the baby.
Are these observing site hazards?
No. The observing site is surrounded by a rather large electrified barbed wire fence to keep the wildlife on the right side of it. But at night, you'd be sitting there taking pictures, and the zebras would come up because they had watering stations for the horses and whatnot down at the farm.
You could smell the water.
And they would come up to the first night I was sitting there and I kept hearing this, and I'm going, geez, I hope that's not a lion. And then I started hearing the odd sort of squeal, and then you could hear the hoof beats, and there had to be 20 or 30 zebras, and you couldn't see them because it was black as pitch. And it took a little while to get used to that. Other than that, I did actually get some pictures of the zebras on the last day when we were driving to the airport. Oh, look, there's some zebras. But the rest of the time, I didn't see any zebras. I saw lots of other stuff. And these guys are kudu, which you can tell because they have stripes. These are the females, and that was a couple of them. The pack was probably 40 or 50 of them.
Got a weird crest down the back, eh?
Yeah, they're oddball. The males have horns that are like big spirals, and they're quite spectacular. Although they don't stick around long enough for you to get a picture if you're trying to.
That's how they got to be big.
And this is a springbok. These guys are very appropriately named because I mean they're like you would think of Tigger,
Yeah.
with the spring
Yeah, springs,
tail,
yeah.
boing boing boing. That's what they do. They boing boing boing. If they're moving, they're either stopped like that or they are screaming along, and they're just boing boing boing. They're quite small. They're maybe 4 feet long, kind of thing.
Okay. Would that be like a sheep or something? A little bit bigger than a sheep? maybe?
Taller than a sheep, but about the same length as a sheep. And this is Zeta Carinae, and this is a 12-minute exposure. Didn't have much time because it came up late at night, like as the morning was coming when I got the picture, and I was fighting between how long till it actually gets light and how long till I fall asleep. So I got 12 minutes. It turned out reasonably decent.
So that's one exposure of 12 minutes?
No, that's 12 one-minute exposures.
Oh my goodness.
This is the refractor.
Yes, it was a 4-inch Williams-Apple refractor.
Spectacular.
That's a star just outside of the field. And then this is the Large Magellanic Cloud. So that big pile of red at the bottom right there, nope, up above the, there, that's the Tarantula Nebula. That sucker is huge. Like, seriously huge.
How visible is it to naked eye?
You can see it with the naked eye.
Would it compare to M42 size, Rick, or color, or visibility?
If this was sitting where M42 is, it would cover half the sky.
I
The
saw
tarantula?
Yes.
I saw it through a telescope and it took the entire field of view of the telescope.
It's massive.
It's amazing.
Which was this also the refractor?
Yes, everything was with the refractor or with your fantastic lens, which I'm reluctant to give back to you.
You always broke it, and Brady just give me the one.
And this is one shot, this is Scorpio. Scorpio, you can see Antares, it's the yellow star at the bottom center. And there's clouds rolling in. And you'll note they're not bright, the clouds. So you basically didn't see the clouds until they were obscuring whatever was behind them. And that's, you can see the dark horse. It was just, it was nuts.
That's the star Antares there.
Yeah, if you look at the right or the left-hand edge where it's the milk, you can see a bit of red and a little trail of stars there.
This one?
Right there.
Yeah.
So that's the bottom of the tail of the scorpion. You know, it's like where it sort of dips down closer to the horizon here. It's just huge piles of nebulosity scattered all over, which is just really cool.
That's the cat's paw and Thor's helmet.
No,
Down there.
no, that was maybe 30 degrees off the horizon.
Very nice. Another one here too.
Ooh. And then there was this, appropriately for Halloween, it is the Witch Head Nebula. This is an hour and a half. There's a lot of stuff in here, so it's kind of hard to bring out the witch head and suppress the background and clothes and everything, but it is pretty cool.
But the star Rigel would be down here somewhere, right?
Yeah, it'd be down kind of a little bit lower, yeah.
What did they say, Rigel 1,500 light years?
Something like that. If you zoom in on this thing, there's galaxies,
Yeah.
barred spirals and all sorts of cool stuff.
Very cool. Okay. Well, thank you, Rick. I think that's the last slide for you. We'll move on to.
Some of you may have heard that I went on a little tiny journey.
Very small.
I went to Namibia, and people say, "How did you find this place?" Well, Google is your friend. Basically, I went looking for a place in the southern hemisphere where you can rent telescopes and stay and see dark southern skies. And there's Chile, and there's Namibia. Chile's quite popular, in fact, to its detriment slightly, because I know that San Pedro de Atacama, which is sort of the village close to where everybody does their observing, is getting quite big and throwing light domes around. And so I thought, no, if I'm going to go all that way and incur that expense, which is actually quite cheap in the overall scheme of things, I want perfectly dark skies, and this came about as close as you're going to get. I actually found the light dome from Windhoek. I went looking for it. It took a while. It sticks up about this far off the horizon and about this much of the horizon. It's just like completely non-existent pretty much.
How far is it away?
150 kilometers, and it's mountainous, and it's down lower than where we were. It was 1,950 meters high, windhoek, I think, is around 1,200 meters high. And you know, here we always have problems with humidity to the point where the first time I was taking astrophotos, I was pouring water off the keyboard of my laptop. There, humidity is not a problem. I don't think it ever exceeded 5%. I was drinking 4 or 5 liters of water a day. I was having a couple of beers a day, and all this. I would go to bed at night having drank like a mug full of water to get me through the night, and I'd wake up in the morning and my tongue was parched, bone dry. I'd have to get up and go and suck back another pile of water. And this was without actually doing anything. If you went hiking, I was taking a 32-ounce cool water bottle full of water, and I would go for, the longest I went was 10 kilometers, and I drank the whole thing. And I was thinking, man, it's a good thing I didn't go another kilometer, because the last bit I was hiking back to the place, I had no water at all, and I would get pretty dry. At any rate, the weather wasn't perfect. September would be better. May to September is probably the best time to go. I went early October, so I was there for 9 days. Of those, 3 nights were perfect. Clear all night long, and I probably, I was up for most of the night. Then there was 3 nights where there was big sucker holes, so you could do useful things. That's where I mostly got the Milky Way photos. And then there was 3 nights that were cloudy. Of those, one of them was not only cloudy, it also had the biggest thunderstorm I've been in since I was in about 2nd year university. I actually hid in the bed. I thought the lightning bolts were hitting in the room. You could hear cracks when it hit. It was pretty substantial. At any rate, I did get a few photos. This is the small Magellanic Cloud. And then you've got 47 Tucanae. And when you look at these things, you can see stuff like there's that, and that, and that, and that, and then that, and that, and that. Those are all globular clusters, and they're all floating around the small Magellanic Cloud. There's just a bucket load of them. They're everywhere. You can see them down lower and all sorts of things. I sort of cropped out 47 Tucanae and did a drizzle stack on it to get it up to a good resolution, and you can see a couple of small globular clusters in that too. It's really amazing how many globular clusters there is, and there's another one there. They're just everywhere. So this is 47 Tucanae. So you can see there's a globular. Pretty sure there's a couple more in here. Hard to nail them down exactly. If you zoom in, you'll find them.
So how big is that compared to M13?
I'll show you a picture. Let's just say that when you're looking at the small Magellanic Cloud, the first night I was out there, I was like, I don't recognize anything. Oh, there's the Milky Way, and then, oh, those must be the Magellanic Clouds. And I'm looking at the large Magellanic Cloud, and then I can see the small Magellanic Cloud above it. And I'm looking at the small Magellanic Cloud, and you can see this fairly bright star above the small Magellanic Cloud. Except it's not a star, it's this. So it's naked eye. I mean, like, not naked eye, I can barely see it. It's naked eye obvious. In the large Magellanic Cloud, you can see the Tarantula Nebula, naked eye, which is just like maybe 5 times brighter than M42, 10 times brighter than M42. It's really bright. And then I'm still trying to figure out what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a constellation. Gotta find a constellation I recognize. I'm not gonna find a southern constellation, so I'm looking for a northern one, and I'm figuring, well, I can't find Scorpio or Sagittarius
You're
or anything.
upside down.
And everything's upside down and cockeyed, and I'm looking around, and then I spotted Delphinus.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going, of all the constellations to spot that I recognize, it's Delphinus. It's a little dinky thing, and it's fairly faint. But then, once I had that landmark, then I could figure out everything else. And so it took me most of the first night just to figure out what the heck am I looking at.
Did you have a chart, Rick?
I had a planisphere,
Okay.
and although the problem is I was in Namibia, and planisphere, if you look at the planisphere, you got to turn a light on because you're not going to see it from the ambient light. There is no ambient
What
light.
latitude were you at?
About 24 degrees south. So I mean, it was black. If you held your hand out in front of your face, and you held it against Earth, you couldn't see it. You know, if you held it up against the sky, you still couldn't see your hand. You just could see that it was occulting a bunch of stars in the sky. This is Etakarine. Now this was the first night I stayed up all night, and it rose late, as in it rose about 5 a.m. So light was coming. I was fairly bagged by then. So this is a 12-minute exposure on Etakarine. This thing is so. This is really bright. You can see it. I figured. Yeah, I know roughly where it is because by then I kind of figured out the constellations, and I'm looking for where's the nebulous patch. I mean, oh, there's the nebulous patch. Zoom in, Bob's your uncle.
What was the black spot there? Is
The black
that
spot there.
over? Yeah,
There?
that one.
That's not dust. That is part of the nebula. It is a black, it's a dark dust cloud.
It is dust.
Yeah. Yes, well, it's not dust on my camera.
You got a cloud that came in overhead?
No. This was my only iPhone astrophoto. So we've got the moon and Jupiter. This was towards the end. On this night, it cleared off. And the moon was sitting right in the middle of the Milky Way. And you could see the Milky Way to within 10 degrees. It's like, every time I talk to somebody, I'd have this big shading grin, and I'd be smiling away.
So, Rick, did you travel with friends or group, or you went on your own?
Went on my own.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I did say to everybody, come on down, and nobody could make it. So but that's okay. I will encourage you all to go because not only is the sky's great, but the place I stayed is great. The food is great. The company's great. It was just a really great experience. The only thing I would say is take a very big water bottle.
How many others were there with you?
It would vary between about 14 and 16. This is actually the site of another amateur group. They're called the International Amateur Sportwink or something like that. It's German, but they have members from all over the place. They're seriously lacking in members from Canada. And one of the guys said, you should join. They have like 15 or 20 telescopes there in observatories, up to a 20-inch Ritchie Chrétien, and they're in the process of installing a 28-inch. And none of them are remote, but basically once you join the club, you can book time on them. You can go down there for vacation, and these are seriously big telescopes, and they're on mounts, like guiding and all that sort of thing. Really cool stuff. I've got pictures of those too. So here we have the Large Magellanic Cloud. So this is the Tarantula Nebula. I've got a close-up of that also, but you can see it's just absolutely littered with nebulosity. And it's also got a pile of bloody clusters in it. And this is a 2-frame mosaic.
How big would that be in the sky?
That
Really?
big in the sky. And I've got a picture that I've got. You can see both of them. It's a wide-angle lens shot. this one. So there's the large Magellanic, there's the small Magellanic, there's 47 there. So there, you know, and there's the Tarantula Nebula right there, and you can see the dots of nebulosity around it too. And you can tell that the large Magellanic Cloud is at least partially a barred spiral.
It's about 3.5.
It's about five.
The moon, isn't it?
It's about 5-6 degrees long.
Yeah. About 10.
I've heard it's the size of the bowl of the dip.
Yeah, about that.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's very big. It's, and you look up and you go, well, that's the Milky Way. So that can't be the Milky Way. They look like disconnected chunks of Milky Way. And then I start, because the Milky Way was, it was nuts. I was looking, and I could see M8 naked eye. I could see.
Can you point out the teapot on there, Rick?
The teapot is. I have difficulty, but it's basically right in here.
Okay, upside down.
Upside down and generally backwards from the way you think.
Yeah.
Up here. So this part here is in the tail of Scorpio. So you've got.
M7, M8?
No. In fact, I looked on my charts and there's no nebulosity mark there, but it's there and it's bright.
So they're open clusters.
Yeah, it's basically, you know how the tail curves down and it hits the bottom and starts to curve up? This is the bottom of that curve.
Is that Antares in the trees there?
Yes, that would be Antares there,
Oh, I see.
but it's just littered with stuff. I spent probably an hour and a half with my little 8x42 binoculars, just going, cool.
Rick?
Yeah.
What kind
I would
of
think
camera
that
do you have?
wouldn't that be like Thor's helmet and Cat's Paw? They're kind of side by each down there.
Maybe. It's just, I kept getting lost in there. Just
You're
'cause it-
almost on the horizon up here.
Yeah, it's just, it was crazy. It was fantastic.
What kind of camera did you use?
I was using my 5D Mark II and Steve's lens, which I have reluctantly returned. Because it was, and these are all tripod shots. This is 13 seconds and 13 second exposure, so about 5 minutes total.
How much ISO?
6400, I cranked her up.
It's a beauty.
So then we got next section. And this is the fruit of the star cloud.
Wow. How did it look visually? Was it kind of like that?
Yeah, it was. You know how when we go to Bayfield and it's a really great night? It's like 4 or 5 times better than that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, it is. It's just crazy. I mean,
Let's all go to the.
I mean, I just kept going, wow. Everybody knew where I was because all they heard was, wow.
How near was the light fluid areas? Like,
150 kilometers north of there. And Windhoek is the size of Guelph. So there's not a lot of light pollution to throw around there.
If you just looked at that as completely gray, no color at all, that would be naked eye.
Yeah.
That's what you see.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just,
it's just shocking.
yeah.
This I put together, and this is a terrible job so far. I've got a lot of work to do on it. This section here, I ended up, there was clouds migrating in there, and so that was mucking things up. It was the only piece I had that fit in this section. But basically you've got Alpha Centauri down here, and you've got the North American Nebula and the Pelican Nebula there, and you've got the Butterfly Nebula here, and if you zoom in, you can see the Veil Nebula too. And
Just a damn shame that we don't have mosaics that are laughing.
you need a category. No, this goes in tripod mounted.
That's a beauty right there, I really like
I mean, I gotta get the background consistent across it, but it's just, I keep looking at it going, wow.
it. I can see that going up
It's just,
Ceiling.
you know, it basically, you know, words escape you kind of thing.
It'd be interesting to see if you photographically, if you could actually find Proxima Centauri in that picture.
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's photographic, I can't.
Yeah.
Magnified or something like
Yeah.
that.
Veil Nebula, right there. It's just silly.
Get lost in all those stars. Really.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I never did find Albireo. I couldn't see it. I mean, the Milky Way just drowned it out.
Wow.
And I mean, Lyra, I could find Vega. I couldn't find the rest of Lyra. So down here, we've got Alpha Centauri, Beta Centauri, and whatever the heck it is. There's so much stuff I have to feed it into astrometry.net to tell me what the heck's there.
How were the bugs?
There was the odd fly. I did have a horsefly, which didn't actually bite me. There was 2 mosquitoes. There wasn't many bugs at all.
Scorpions?
Well, there was there was 2 scorpions. One was outdoors, one was scuttling across the pool room floor. And when I spotted it, big ones, you know, about this long.
But
But they're-
you don't need to worry about it, apparently. It's the little ones.
It's the little ones that are dangerous. The big ones just hurt like hell.
But you can see the dark areas down there, they're so prominent.
Yeah.
And that's why the Aborigines in Australia use those as their constellations.
Yeah. It's
They
just,
don't use the
there's
stars.
big black chunks out of the Milky Way. What's this one? This is the southern end of Scorpio here. I mean, you can see Ptolemy's cluster is like, here, you know, you kind of hunt around and you can maybe find it. Down there, it sticks out like a sore thumb. This is Scorpio. You've got the head of Scorpio. So here's the roll Fucus region. So you get down here and you loop around there. So it's, you know, it's that M8, M20, M17, M16. And the other thing is, like, normally when I'm processing, you gotta fiddle around with the background, because you got light pollution to worry about and all this stuff. Most of these are adjust levels, adjust curves, fiddle with the contrast a bit. We're done. Now, to do a really good job, I've gotta be a little more careful, but to just kind of show what it was. And you got all this stuff down here, these are the clouds. The clouds are just, they're just black. There's no lightness to them at all. They just, all you see is this black thing blotting out the
Manitoulin
sky.
Island.
Yeah, I mean,
Manitoulin Island is like that.
yeah, I actually looked up the Bortle scale rating for this location. It's 1, which I think is very, I think Bruce Peninsula in that sort of range is like 1.2 or something.
Oh,
like that.
okay.
So, you know, Bruce Peninsula is very good. This is
Yeah, no,
this
I-
has no humidity. Like I said. Yeah, there's 0 humidity. In fact, I'm almost thinking of suggesting to the people that run the Astro Farm that they should stick a humidifier in all the rooms. For the poor northerners. So this is This is the Small Magellanic Cloud. We've got another globular. This is one around our galaxy, and then there's one, there's one, there's one. They're scattered all over the place. Plus the nebulosity. These things have a fair amount of red in them, although it's kind of drowned out by the blue. Then you've got more red. Oh, there's one. There's lots and lots of flowers. Another one there. And then this is the Tarantula Nebula. Now this is, I was only using a 4-inch, it was f6.3, but I was using a 0.8 field flattener reducer on it, which did a really good job. But on the Tarantula Nebula, basically I just did a drizzle stack on a chunk of the large Magellanic Cloud. This thing's ridiculous. It's so big. I think this is 160,000 light years away. If it was where the Orion Nebula is, it would cover half the sky. I mean, it's serious.
See it in the daytime.
Yeah, it would be a daytime object.
It would be annoying.
Yeah, it would. It would be the Venus, or it would be the full moon equivalent kind of thing, except it would be there.
Permanent light pollution.
Yeah.
So how long is this exposure?
This is an hour and a half.
In what, 10 minutes?
5-minute shots at ISO 1600. And then I finally got my witch head. This is another hour and a half shot. It's full of galaxies too. There's galaxy, 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 galaxy. There's another galaxy there, another one there, another 2 there, and Rigel's sitting down right about here. And this is, I mean, considering where I was and the conditions, I mean, it was nice and high in the sky, and it's one tough sucker to catch, man. It's not bright.
It's hard to pick it up at all.
Yeah.
I shot a number of times from tilters, and I only had one occasion when I was able to get much of anything.
Yeah, and I'm sure that if I play around some more with the processing, I'll bring it out more, but it's there, and it's apropos to the season.
It's good.
And I didn't screw up the star color, so I'm reasonably happy. Well, and that's it for the star pictures. I also have some others. Let's see, if you want to see a few more, I don't know if you want to see any more.
Save it for another talk.
Well, we'll show you some. They have a scale model of the. Wait a sec. This is not what I want. They have a scale model of the solar system. So it's laid out over a 2-kilometer course. It takes about 2 liters of water in about an hour. So it starts out at the farm, and that would be the sun. And then you go down to Mercury. You can see an observing platform in then Venus. As you can see, it's a tad dry. They have trails all over the place. If you do go there, make sure you stay on the trails, because if you walk off the trails, you're going to be brushing against the plants. And the plants tend to have really big thorns on them. Like seriously large.
What was the temperature?
It was 30 to 35 at night, or during the daytime. It dropped down to 18 most nights, and then a couple nights where it was the sort of cloud, or the clouds rolled in, it dropped down to about 11. So it wasn't very cold. So we've got Earth there. For some reason, I can't find the picture I took of Mars. And then Jupiter. This is the Gamsberg Mountain. This is a very weird looking mountain because it is absolutely ruler flat. It's about 5 kilometers from one end to the other end, and the height in that flatness varies by about 5 meters.
And how far is it away from where you took the picture?
It'd be about a 30-minute drive to the base of the mountain. Probably about 2 hours to get to the top because it's a switchback, but it's more like this. It's like It's not.
Sure.
And it's so steep that they've actually paved the corners. The rest of it's unpaved. And I would be seriously frightened. And I'm from BC. I would be seriously frightened to go up there. And we got Saturn. As you can see, it's very beautiful, but it's very, very dry. And when you're out walking, you walk down the trails and you would startle an oryx herd. And suddenly, 20 antelope go flying by across the trail that you're walking on. You step back carefully. Do not step on the feet. There were zebras around, although I never encountered them when I was walking. But I saw oryx, which are very big antelope, like, size of a large deer, very large deer. And then there was kudu, which are, slightly smaller than a deer. And then there was the springbok, which I never saw walking, but they're big. Uranus, and as you can imagine, every planet's a lot further from the last one. So it's as far from Uranus to Neptune as it is from Uranus back to the sun. Here we got your little piece, but I'll save the rest for another time. And that's it. Anyway, if you're planning on going to the southern hemisphere to see the sky, I would highly recommend the Hakos Guest Farm. It's like $200 a night gets you your accommodation, your food, and your telescope, including the mount. So all you got to do is carve down a laptop and a camera, and away you go. And the food was fantastic. The company was great. The people who run the place it was like going to visit my grandma. They got this house sort of.
People running the place are German.
Yeah. Well, they're Namibian, but they're German. And this one lady, older lady, she reminded me of my grandma. She was just, if you got enough food, do you want more food?
Well, you look like you're starving.
No. I'm on a weight loss program. Strangely enough, I actually lost 6 pounds, and I ate like a king.
Good for you.
Oh, and if you're interested, I brought back some Namibian rocks, which you can view. It's really interesting when you're walking around on the trails. There is quartz everywhere, and some of it's in boulders. And I know they were talking about there's some caves on a neighbor's farm where you walk in and there are columns of quartz crystals inside the cave. It's just a very cool place.
I had no idea it was so much.
Yeah.
Rock, volcanic.
And a lot of mica. This thing's loaded with mica.
Yeah. All right. Well, Rick, since you're up here,
Uh-oh.
let's do the 50-50 draw.
Yeah, but if I don't select my ticket.
Well, then you know what you blame it yourself. Wrong.
21. And the answer is 539, the last 3 digits.
Not too
All right.
soon.